Hello, you're listening to Mike Madden on the Art Show podcast. Here you will find interviews with authors, musicians, artists and anyone else in and around the arts. Some of the interviews are taken direct from the Art Show on Expat Radio, with one or two specials in between. This episode features author Amanda Robson talking about her new book Envy and also her previous career as a poisons expert. It was first broadcast on Expat Radio on the 8th of April 2019. Due to licensing restrictions, we were unable to play the songs from the original broadcast.
Hello there.
Evening.
Hello,
How are
Dave.
you? Evening, Mr. Madden. Thanks for coming.
It's all right. How's things over there?
Very well. Snowing at the moment. 14 feet of snow.
14 feet of snow.
Yeah.
It'll cover you then.
Well, yeah, lying down.
I suppose we best get cracking.
Crack on. You crack
this
on.
This is Mike Madden on the Art Show on Expat Radio, and tonight I'm delighted to welcome back onto the show author Amanda Robson. Good evening.
Good evening. Lovely to be here again.
Yes, and this time last year, or roughly this time last year, you were about to go and see the Rolling Stones. So who's the band this year?
Well, I'm going to see Rod Stewart later in the year.
Oh, funnily enough, so's my wife.
Really? I'm going. My son's getting married, and I'm going with his future mother-in-law. It's the mums together, you see.
Where are you going to see Rod?
I can't quite remember. I booked the tickets so long ago. I think it's in London. Yeah.
Right.
You have to book them so far off, and then I've got tickets for Elton John, but that's another year off again. It's nearly 2 years off.
Same it. November next year, that one.
Yeah. Going to Manchester for that. I know that.
Oh, see you there. That's where
great.
we're going.
Oh, lovely.
Well, fingers crossed they're still here, because they're both knocking on a bit now, aren't they? Flipping heck, no.
You said that, not me. I was going to say my husband said I'll be lucky to see him, but I didn't like to say that on air, but now you've said it, I can as well.
Yeah, it might be the best wake you ever go to.
No.
Anyway, Amanda's here to talk to us about her new book, Envy, which was launched last week. So how's it going?
Yes, well, it's fine, I think. As far as I know, I don't know. You don't get any figures yet, but I hope people are enjoying it. So, yeah, I'm getting some nice reviews and nice comments. So, yeah.
I think one of the advantages of having your book on Amazon is a little feature called Look Inside. Now, I've not actually read the book, but I got an advanced copy. So I do know that the first page is absolutely enthralling. So if anybody's out there is interested in this book, go onto Amazon, click on Look Inside and just read the first page. It really does whet your appetite for the rest of the book. So Envy is your latest novel. Just give our listeners a little bit of a taste of what it's about.
Well, it's about a very attractive young woman who's actually a model. She's a young mother, and she has 3 people in love with her. One is her husband, but the other 2, unfortunately, are stalkers. So stalkers is her husband's best friend who's in love with her. And the other one is a woman who watches across the road from the school and starts to really wish she was her and envies her life. And that's where the title comes from. And that's where a lot of the sort of strap lines, and there's a video going around on Twitter of somebody watching through the shutters with creepy eyes. So that's the woman who's watching her.
So it's a full package and a video promotion as well.
Yes.
Now, obviously, envy is one of the 7 deadly sins, but I think of envy as well.
Well, it has. Yes, it did. I mean, in fact, the character in my book is if you're very envious of somebody, which is slightly different to jealousy. If it's envy, you might desire what they have in a rather resentful way. But if it's jealousy, you desire what they have in a resentful way and you show it. So you're more likely to minimize them or say something bitchy or try and sort of take their career off course, do something unpleasant. So envy in itself, if you sort of want what somebody has, and if you want it badly enough, I suppose you might try harder, work harder to aspire to that. So I do think that could be a force for good. But I mean, I can tell you a reason why I don't think it's a good idea as well.
I think we'll let our listeners read the book to get that impression. Now, as I say, I read the first page, and I was amazed at how gripping that first page was. Just the first few paragraphs, and obviously on Amazon you can use this look inside. Does that mean there's a bit more pressure on you to get that first page absolutely right, or has it always been the same?
No, it's always been the same. I mean, if you're even trying to get an agent, even if your first line isn't good enough. When I was on my writing, because everyone was agonising even over the first line, never mind the first page. And one of my friends in book group, she used to have I think it was a page 54 rule or something. She used to open the book later on because people always have to try and make the beginning right, even to get the attention of an agent or a publishing house. But some writers could possibly argue get a bit lazy later on. So some people open a book in the middle and read a page randomly to see if that reads well or whether it's a bit boring. So
that's an interesting concept. I have to make page 54 as good as page 1.
It made me quite nervous actually, because it was a book group that I used to run. And I was at the time an aspiring writer, and she used to say all these things. I remember going back to my manuscript and opening whatever page it was. And I wasn't that impressed with my page 54. So I knew I had to up the ante.
Now you're listed on the audiobook as being one of the narrators. Did you actually get involved in that, or was it just the introduction?
No, I don't narrate it. I don't know whether on the audio, but they give your name as well just because you're the writer.
Right.
I did have a bit more say this time. For the first time ever, they sent me all the actors and actresses' voices and let me choose, which was rather nice. So I got a bit more involved. It's the first time that's happened to me. All the rest of the time, it's just been done without any input from me. So.
Oh, this is getting like reality TV now. Then with your thumbs up or your thumbs down for them. Now, this is your third book after the previous two, Obsession and Guilt, both of which received good reviews and bestseller acclaim as well. And of Obsession, the Daily Mail said it's crying out to be made into a TV drama. So has anything more been done on that?
No, unfortunately not. That would be exciting. I think every writer would dream of that. But I actually think that my new one, Envy, is more televisual than the others because of stalking. You know, somehow I would have thought. I mean, I've never been a cameraman, but I can imagine if you've got people following one another around in a creepy way, there's lots of room for creepy camera shots.
Now, you came to writing quite late, and we'll talk about your previous career a little bit later. But what inspired you to pick up the pen at I think was it the age of 55?
No, not quite that late. No, I was in my late 40s.
Ah, right, okay.
But I'd always wanted to write. I'd done a science degree and I'd worked in scientific research as a young woman, and I'd been advised to because I graduated from university in 1981, and there was really rather a bad recession, and a lot of the manufacturing industry collapsed up north, and I think my teachers could see trouble ahead, and they thought it might be easier to get a job with a science degree, because I was sort of fairly balanced across the arts and science. And but I loved English literature, and it was a huge sacrifice to me to not do English literature, and I regretted it terribly. And I did actually find my science degree. I had to force myself to do it, and hours, because it hadn't come off the water. And I just felt all of a sudden as if my life had stopped moving forwards. I'd loved being at home with them. I'd loved it. But it was just all of a sudden, my husband was really enjoying his career. He always had, and he's a real workaholic. And they were very enthralled with what they were doing. And I just suddenly started to crave that lovely feeling, when you're younger, when you've got something, you don't know what's going ahead. And I wanted to, so I just thought, I want to do what I want to do. And I had always wanted to write. So I sort of woke up one night. I was either ironing or washing up, doing something really boring. And I thought, I want to write a novel. And the next day I just got out of bed, and when they'd gone to school and stuff, I just started to try and write, and it just started like that.
And you went on a Faber novel writing course. Has that been hugely influential in your writing?
Yeah, the Faber novel writing course is a very, very good course, and it's tremendously helpful. It teaches you to edit to a very high standard, which you need to do. Otherwise, you're not going to get noticed. And also, it gives you a lot of very positive encouragement. It doesn't push you into a certain genre or anything. I mean, there's 60 people now, over 60 people have been published now who've done that course, and it only started in 2009. So, I mean, it's a hugely special course. But it doesn't, the writing that's come out of it is very varied. It's not as if they say, here's the recipe for a thriller or here's the recipe for romance. It's not like that.
Right. So it's one you would definitely recommend.
I definitely would. Yeah. And my tutor actually on it, he's got a book called Writing a Novel by Richard Skinner. That's his name. And he had written that a long time ago, but it's recently he's updated it and it's been reprinted. And if people are interested in writing a novel, they could start by buying his book and reading it. Although I have to say, even reading a book's nothing like actually being on a course and discussing things in person.
Right. Well, Amanda and I are just going to chat about Rod Stewart off air now. So while we're doing that, you can listen to Rod Stewart, and please.
He's joined now, Dave. So we'll stop talking about you now then.
Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Madden on the Arts Show on Expat Radio. And tonight we're not talking about Dave. We're talking to my special guest, Amanda Robson. Hello again, Amanda.
Hi there. Hi.
Now, before the break, we spoke about your new book, Envy, which was launched last week, and also your other two books. But I want to go a little bit further back in your career to when you were a poisons expert.
Well, I worked at the poisons unit at Guy's Hospital shortly after I left university, and I was part of a team which we were running a 24-hour emergency telephone service for members of the medical profession only who had a poisoning inquiry about how to deal with a certain patient, and we handled inquiries from drugs overdose, industrial poisoning, household incidents such as children swallowing bleach, children, the naughty things they got up to. I mean, there's things, that cupboard under the sink where you can keep a few bits and bobs. And I mean, why would they eat dishwasher tablets? Why would they? I mean, what on earth? Anyway, so
bright colours.
And we even had a lot of inquiries about things people did in the garden. They seem to eat plants by mistake, or of course mushroom poisoning is a real one. People who pick wild mushrooms are quite ill. I'd never eaten a wild mushroom in my life after working there.
Well, I've been out picking mushrooms in the High Peak with a guy and his daughter who are experts at this, but there's absolutely a sort of a hint of Russian roulette whenever you go out and pick a wild mushroom.
Well, the gentleman Nicholas, the one who wrote The Horse Whisperer, he poisoned his family with mushrooms, and he said he knew a lot about, but he still made a mistake and cooked mushrooms, and he ended up having a kidney transplant.
Wow.
Because of it. So I wouldn't. Anyway, it's up to you. I mustn't be bossy, but I wouldn't eat wild mushroom.
No, well, I actually thought they were very, very strong tasting as well. Not like the bland ones that we're used to.
Well, you're still here and you look cheery enough, so it's obviously not done you anymore.
Now, one of the poisons that you've got very real experiences is I'm going to say this wrong. Scopolamine.
Scopolamine. Yes. Well, I think it makes your memory go. It's like a date rape drug. It's really nasty. Yes.
But used for seasickness.
Oh, well, there's some variety of it. It's a while ago now when I went on this big cruise across the Atlantic. But I can't remember quite whether it's scopolamine. It's one of the anti-seasickness pills that you put it on a patch behind your ear. And you're not supposed to drink alcohol when you have it. But, of course, people go on luxury cruises and they've all got these patches. And most of them are drinking alcohol. And some people drink more alcohol than others. But I can honestly say that there's quite a few nights on that cruise after a certain amount of time I can't remember the end of the evening. So my son started thinking I was going a bit odd, a bit senile. But I think it was just the drug that was in these seasickness patches. So, anyway, I think I'm all right. But it was incredible because I'd still be functioning completely. You wouldn't be able to tell. So we used to go up from dinner up onto deck and look at the moon and the stars and everything. And it would all look really beautiful. And I'd say, I hope I remember this tomorrow. It's so beautiful. And the next day, I wouldn't remember. So, of course, all my friends were winding me up terribly and telling me all sorts of tales about what I'd done, which is hopefully untrue, with cheeky grins. But anyway.
Hopefully untrue. Well, so going back to your publishing career, and you got a stroke of luck because your agent got your novel onto the desk of a publisher who was looking for that kind of book at the time. But how did you actually get your agent?
Well, it was a long process of handing. I spent 7 years writing historical fiction. What you have to do is you have to send, you get buy something like the Writers and Artists Writers and Yearbook, and it lists all the agents, and you have to approach them by sending the first 3 chapters of your book plus a synopsis, and then they look at the first 3 chapters, and if they want the full manuscript, they ask for it. Although actually an agent lately was telling me they just ask for full manuscript now, but anyway, you just have to send out and hope they like it enough to offer to represent you. And I just sent out for quite a lot of years on my historical fiction, and I had interest, but nobody actually offered. And then when I wrote my psychological thriller, I had 2 or 3 different agents all interested, but I went with the first one who was sort of really jumping up and down and wanting it, because that's lovely if somebody really wants your work. And I get on with her really well. She's lovely. I mean, it's a very happy day for a writer the day they get an agent.
And I also know that you found out about your deal at the Hay Festival.
Yes, I was at the Hay Festival with my friends from my book group. And I was just so excited. Yeah, it's because I'd gone to the Hay Festival for years, listening to all the writers, thinking how lovely it would be to be a published author. And so, yeah, it meant a lot to me, that. And
once you are a published author, of course, the big benefit is that you get to go to all these author parties, and your publisher puts on all kinds of things for you. Is that still the case? Because I know one of your friends, Caroline England, tells me that's what it's all about now.
Oh, she's my partner in crime. I mean, she's my friend that I go round and have all the fun at these places with. So no wonder we say the same thing. But yes, we go to some lovely things. I mean, the HarperCollins Summer Party that our publisher puts on, it's just absolutely wonderful. And our Avon HarperCollins, who my books are published by, they make a big effort to take us out for meals, so we all know each other, and it is lovely. And then the crime writers get on very well. We go to the Bristol Crime Fest and the Harrogate Crime Festival. Caroline and we go together and we have a whale of a time. We've got loads of friends there. But it's just like a big party for days on end. It's just amazing. I mean, it's lovely, at my age, have all this fun. But there are loads of other crime festivals that lots of the others go to as well. There's one called Bloody Scotland that's very popular. But Caroline's and my livers haven't quite survived to get to Bloody Scotland yet. We just gone to Bristol and down.
Well, the journey up there would be an ordeal in itself, wouldn't it? Now, the other major asset that you have is your website, which has got some fantastic information on it, and it's just simple tips like making writing into a pleasure, not a chore, and that kind of thing, and simple structures to hook your writing on. If you could say one thing to any listeners who are thinking about writing a book, what would the one piece of advice be?
Well, that's a hard question. Just one piece of advice. I think. No, that is tricky. I mean, and especially because I do this sort of thriller type of thing now. So every single page, every chapter. Yeah, I suppose one thing is that I found it hard to get really to begin with, but it's in the sort of writing I do, which is thriller sort of writing. But that every single chapter has to have a purpose. It has to move the story forwards. Every conversation does as well. You can't just waste time just doing too much description, because if you do, the reader will get bored. I think maybe that's something that I didn't quite realise to begin with.
Yeah, I think there's often quite a lot of the rules of writing force you down that road to get overly descriptive, but keep the pace of your novel going, I suppose, is another way of saying that. I'm looking at the clock now, and we could talk all night, to be honest, but we're running out of time. So Just tell the listeners where they can find more out about yourself and, of course, your book, Envy.
Well, I've got a website, which is www.amandarobson.co.uk, I think, or .com. Anyway, if you stick all that www Amanda Robson, and I've just had it updated, which is a big effort on my part of my web designer, because it's the sort of thing a lot of people put off, putting all extra things. So do look at that. And I've got an Amanda Robson author page on Facebook, which a lot of information goes on. So that's another place. And of course, there's always stuff on Amazon about you that's been put up by your publishing house and stuff.
Absolutely. It's everyone's got an author page on Amazon now. But it's been wonderful talking to you again. And hopefully it won't be another 12 months before you come on.
Well, it's been lovely coming on and lovely to see you. And yes, all the best to everyone and listeners.
And maybe when we go and see Rod Stewart at Elton John in Manchester, we can meet face to face, and we're going to play out with Face to Face and Elton John and Gary Barlow. You've been listening to the Arts Show podcast with Mike Madden. Come back soon for more artists, authors, musicians, and anyone else connected with the arts. We're going to play out with Mike Sanchez and I Don't Stand a Chance.
And baby, you hiding something that you don't want me to know. Because I'm getting a vibe from way down the side, like you're just about ready to go. And you can't tell me where you stayed last night. You just can't cope with treating me right. I'm on the road to heartbreak. Now's the time to tell me so. Because I'm getting a chill, like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more. I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know and I can't make you dance. Well, I said goodbye. Find yourself another guy. I wish you were mine, but I'm losing my mind. I don't stand a chance. Tell me so, because I'm getting a chill, like I'm gonna be ill. I know you don't want me no more. I won't be satisfied with your little white lies. Girl, I've only just begun to realize I don't stand a chance. No, I don't stand a chance. You don't wanna know and I can't make you dance. Well,